The FedEx Cup playoffs finally about to get underway this weekend with the FedEx St. Jude Championship. It is a loaded field with 69 of the very nicest and best golfers in the field for this week at TPC Southwind. So today we're going to break down our thoughts on this course, the field, our favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook, and the best PGA DFS picks on FanDuel as well. Welcome on into the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research Podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as I am every Tuesday by Brandon Gdula. You can find him on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. Check out his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior managing editor. Brandon, FedEx Cup playoffs are here. How you doing today?
I'm good. Love the FedEx Cup playoffs. Getting a good field this week. A lot of interesting names that we can get access to. Unfortunately, Scotty Scheffler is just like lurking. So it might be a week where you make sure you get some finishing position bets in there as well as your outrights because Scotty, he's pretty good. He's a lot better than everyone else, even in this playoff field. So I'm excited still because at this point, I feel like it's like a win-win. Either somebody kind of beats Scotty or Scotty just continues his march toward history. So we've at least like kind of passed that like breaking point of, okay, Scotty's just winning a lot, but like it's sustained. He's racking them up. At this point, it's like either history or there's an upset. So we have that going for us.
Yeah, he's plus 280 right now at FanDuel Sportsbook. I will say that he does, you said lurking. I view him as looming large is like the word that I had in my brain because he's influencing a lot of the way I'm doing stuff this week. I have bet two outrights. Let me check. I have bet two outrights. And for both those golfers, I made sure that I also had non-outrights on them. And I don't always do that because just because a golfer is a value to win does not mean they are a value to finish top 10. For this week specifically, I might have fudged around a little bit and been okay with some like slightly minus EV, at least one slightly minus EV bet, just because I'm scared of Scotty. And I didn't want to fully tilt when Redacted finishes second by 6 strokes. So it does influence my betting card for this week. It has influenced the way I'm like playing things for myself as well. So he's there. He's magnificent. But I do think there is some good value to be had elsewhere in the field for this week. And our job for today is to identify that value, let you know who we are on at FanDuel Sportsbook, and get you set for some good FanDuel PGA DFS lineups as well. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the FanDuel Research Podcast feed wherever you get your podcast, because not only are we here throughout the rest of the FedEx Cup playoffs, but also NFL just around the corner. It is now 30 days until our first NFL show of the year. We have not discussed what day we're recording, so it might be exactly a month today, might be Thursday. Who can say? Either way, it is in a month from today or yesterday, our first NFL show of this year. Talking NFL DFS for each main slate. Get that on the FanDuel Research Podcast feed, but also these shows on the YouTube page as well. FanDuel Golf Betting YouTube page for PGA stuff, and the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page for both the NFL and college football to be coming your way in the very near future. Again, if you're watching YouTube, subscribe there. Leave us a thumbs up. We appreciate those of you watching over there as always. FanDuel, because nothing says summer fun like adding excitement to the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Summer sports are calling your way. Baseball under the stadium lights, golf on pristine green fairways, soccer matches with world-class goals, and all the action-packed moments in between. You are going to spend all day following your favorite sports on your phone anyway. Might as well make it more thrilling with FanDuel. Open the app today to see the daily promotions. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today to get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat Connecticut. Visit MD Gambling Help Oregon, Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or Call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's dig in now to the FedEx St. Jude Championship. It, of course, is at TPC Southwind. It is 7,288 yards and a par 70 for this week. As mentioned, 69 golfers in the field. Rory McIlroy, lone guy in the top 70, not in play for this week. It is a no-cut event as a result of that. And the top 50 in the FedEx Cup standings after this week will advance to the BMW Championship next week. So a lot to play for, not just in terms of big check this week, but also advancing to next week and, of course, the Tour Championship as well. Brandon, we have a lot of data on TPC Southwind. What should we know about this course before entering bets or filling out lineups?
Yeah, pretty long par 70 with pretty narrow fairways, but tiny greens. These Bermuda greens rating out 4,300 square feet on average. It's about as small as we get on the PGA Tour. Average is around 6,000 square feet. Okay, so I double checked the GCSAA PDF. Now listed at 4,500 square feet, up 200 square feet from where it had played last year. Sorry, I was out this weekend. I did my research based on last year's numbers and that long time number. So it is much bigger, 200 extra square feet on average for these greens, but still very, very tiny. Presumably, third smallest average greens behind Pebble and Harbor Town, which is where it always settles in. They're just a little bit larger listed this year. So mea culpa there. Not a whole lot of change, but at least want to get the facts right. Recent winning scores, and this format's changed between top 7 or like 70 golfer field, WGC 125 golfer fields, but winning scores still consistently around 16 under. They've been 17, 17, 15, 16, and 13 the last 5 years. And if you dig into the actual, data, I think it's kind of interesting who we see play well here. We'll talk about who's actually played well here, but in terms of recent winners, it's a pretty interesting list of names too. But we know it's been a staple on tour for a while, and again, the shift in field size and format, just kind of note that. But correlation wise, there's a really obvious de-emphasis on around the green play, which I think is always welcomed for certain golfers, some of our favorites, in fact. And scrambling also takes a big hit, which isn't surprising. They're usually correlated, but there's an emphasis on driving accuracy and strokes gain approach / greens and regulation. So it's kind of a ball striking venue with small greens. Yes, you'll miss greens and you'll need to scramble well, but really what the data says historically is you got to hit more of the greens in order to separate. So basically great shots get rewarded here. And again, I kind of alluded to recent winners, Hideki Matsuyama, Lucas Glover, Will Zalatoris, just names that come to mind as elite ball strikers who maybe don't have the best overall short games. So I think that's interesting for the week. And since 2020, we've had 9 golfers who either won or went to a playoff. And of those 9 golfers, 6 had top 6 approach play for the week, and only 1 was worse than 17th. So, we always have strokes gained approach at the top of our list in terms of importance, but I think there's no way around it for this week where it should win out. And so my key stats for the week, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We need that ball striking. So I want strokes gained approach, strokes gained off the tee with that emphasis on accuracy. I'm putting some weight on proximity or strokes gained per shot from 100 to 200 yards. You can find that on the PGA Tour's website, or Data Golf has an approach skill tool that has some different metrics based on different distances and a little bit on strokes gained putting, but mostly it's about that ball striking and that proximity for me. What are you seeing this week?
Yeah, I guess when I look at the data, similar situation, but I guess you're saying ball striking in terms of off the tee plus approach. I'm okay kind of downplaying overall off the tee play a bit this week, given that it's a course where if you look at the course tool over Data Golf, neither distance nor accuracy really grades out as being hyper important. So for me, I kind of just want to Like you always say, like, oh, don't sort by accuracy. I'm kind of getting close to sorting by approach this week almost, and just saying, like, I'm just going to take the dudes with the best approach skill and go from there. That's probably okay in general. I think it's especially okay this week. So it led to a lot of golfers who I like being on in general anyway. So honestly, no major objections. And I do feel pretty good about the way things set up for this week because of that. So in general, I'll be de-emphasizing off the tee play a little bit for this week personally. You'd mentioned that we want ball strikers, and those ball strikers loom large. And look at past history at TPC Southwind. Brandon, take us through the course history at TPC Southwind, who has done the best here in the recent past.
Yeah, so as always, I like to look at the last 5 years of data when it exists. We have that, of course, and I look at total strokes gained, which gives us that combination of who's played here a lot, who's played here well. There's a couple call outs throughout the show of someone who maybe played really well here, hasn't played a ton here, but we actually kind of get that with he's on the list. He's just lower than he probably should be, but we'll get to him in a second. Heat check favorite. But leading the way based on this methodology is Hideki Matsuyama, who I've liked for a couple weeks now. Not necessarily going to move away from that, but he's losing out a little bit to other golfers for me, which maybe I should use the course history as a tiebreaker, but course history is only a piece of the puzzle for us on this show. Won this event a year ago, just adding to a really good history at TPC Southwind. T16, T2, and T20 here prior, and in 2019, which is outside of this this time frame that I'm looking at, he was T43. As expected, the tee to green game was solid. The putting's been solid too for Hideki, especially last year when he led in strokes gained putting. So Hideki, whenever he can putt, interesting name to note. And the underlying putting splits for Hideki, not too bad by any means. I like to look at putting from within 15 feet on the PGA Tour for the season. That's a good indicator of just making makeable putts. And Hideki rates out as a 60th percentile putter in that span. So above average there. Next up is Sam Burns. He's played here 4 straight years, T2, T20, T52, and T5. He's gained on approach in all 4, at least 0.70 shots per round, which is interesting. We all know him as Bermuda Burns. Actually been kind of volatile on the greens, losing strokes in 2020, 2022, and 2023, but gaining at least 1.76 in 2021 and 2024. So a little bit of volatility there for Burns, but his game's on the rise for sure in recent rounds. His buddy Scotty Scheffler, though, has also played well here. Missed the cut in 2022 due to just really, really bad putting. But other than that, T15, 14th, T31, and 4th in this span. Gained tee to green, all 3 tee to green stats in all 4 events. He's got four wins in 2024, 2025, and all 4 of those were in his last 8 starts. Like, there's a lot to like about Scotty that isn't really going to go away this week. Exactly. Colin Morikawa, you want some iron play? Colin Morikawa kind of has it. He's definitely not in bad form, but he's not exactly the Colin Morikawa that we've known for a while. But coming off of 2 missed cuts at the Scottish Open and the Open, just again, I'm looking for a little bit of accuracy in those irons. That feels like Colin Morikawa. He's played well enough here to make this list. Top 26 in each of the last 5 years, putted positively in 4 of the 5 as well. Justin Thomas won here in 2020, has not finished worse than T30 in any of his 5 starts. He's gained 12 out of 12 tee to green stats the last 4 years, but has lost putting in 4 straight, including his win back in 2020, one of the sort of anomalies in the strokes gained era, at least in recent years, to win with negative strokes gained putting. The name I was dancing around is Daniel Berger, who has really interesting course history at TPC Southwind. Just 2 starts in the last 5 years when he finished T2 and T5. Those were back in 2020 and 2021. He missed the cut here in 2018, but other than that, consecutive wins in his debut in 2016 and followed it back up with a win in 2017. Right now, the game is a little bit cooled off from what we thought or where he has been, but honestly, his stabilized numbers, sort of what I like to look at now as Jim kind of got me back into my own research, which I greatly appreciate you for. But last 50 rounds of short game and last 36 rounds of ball striking, Daniel Berger's in good form. He's got the best strokes gained to average in his career at TPC Southwind. So he's a little bit lower on this list, but he's actually kind of the guy if you look at the full picture. And then two more names, also pair of buddies here, Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. Cantlay, T12 and runner-up here the last 2 years, 3 other top 35 finishes prior for him. Kind of trending up with the iron play, which you like to see, and one of the better iron players right now in recent months. So Cantlay, kind of don't want to forget about him, but his underlying putting splits are a bit concerning. And then Xander Schauffele, fresh off of 2 top 8 results at the Scottish Open and the Open. He's got 2 top 6 finishes the last 5 years. T2 last year. He's really been good with the irons, gaining almost roughly a shot and a half per round the last 2 years with his approach play. So a lot of big names. Again, this is usually a difficult place to play. You got to qualify. So it's not a huge surprise that a lot of these names are some of the bigger names. But does anybody here stand out to you?
I want to talk about Xander, not really because of the course history, because as you mentioned, it's not like anything amazing. Did finish second here last year, but kind of wanted to get a vibe check on where you're at with him, because we were, I think, both on him for the Open Championship, if I recall correctly. And he played well again there. The ball striking was phenomenal. Short game was good, but not good enough to truly spike there. So he played really good golf again. I guess I just didn't think about him a lot this week. He's 18-1. Is that long enough for you to be tempted by him? Because I feel like I want to make sure I'm not overlooking him, like in favor of some guys who are a little bit longer than him. Like not that much longer, but a bit longer. Where are you at on Xander right now?
I do like him. The ceiling numbers for him are not quite where you'd want them to be. Part of that over the last 50 rounds is, due to working his way back from injury, but his putting splits are just kind of concerning, and It's not but not in the way that you would think. Like they're actually screaming for regression, and maybe this is the spot where we should not overlook it. But I have been his 63rd percentile putter from within 15 feet. So again, 63rd percentile above average there. First percentile from beyond that on tour this year. Once he came back from his injury, his ball striking, his distance were fine. The short game, the wedges and the putter were just kind of not what you typically expect for Xander. The problem, I think, though, and I believe you brought this up a couple weeks ago with Xander too, is you're kind of buying high. You're not really getting much of a Xander discount. Now, this field is not completely star-studded. You don't have the live guys like Bryson and Rahm at the top. Rory's not in it. So I'm going to ask you this. If we had no concerns about Xander, if he didn't get injured, maybe he had a win, this year, where do you think he would be if things changed just a little bit? What kind of number would you be expecting if this was sort of peak Xander?
So no Rory, no live guys, but Scotty in God tier form.
Yeah.
Xander would probably be 12-1, right? Or is that egregious?
I think that's still a lot, but I was thinking 15.
Okay. But shorter than 18.
With Scotty in this form, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I probably should be more accounting for that. Because I'm kind of viewing this as okay, where was he last year? But Scotty wasn't in
correct
killer Terminator mode.
I didn't set you up perfectly.
No, you're right.
It's more of this year, if this was sort of if he got back to his he peaked last year, it's probably safe to say that he may never play that well again.
Right.
But his long-term success, I mean, maybe this is a top 5 situation. I'd have to run the numbers, look at the actual top 5 odds for Xander, but I don't think it's egregious. And the other thing too is quietly Matt Fitzpatrick and less quietly Tommy Fleetwood are playing really good golf too. And so the gap between Xander and Fitz isn't what it used to be, because Fitz is playing some pretty consistently good golf. So I did give him a lot of thought, Xander, that is, and I just couldn't quite get there, but I understand the case. And I do think that we should be nervous about just completely overlooking him. I don't think we are, but that tier behind Xander is actually pretty loaded too.
It is. And that's the tier I've lived in so far. But I would say, like, I have room on my card left for one more outright at least. And I think that Xander right now is the most likely guy to be added to that list. Daniel Berger might be number 2. We can talk more about him later on. Let's talk first about the form entering TPC Southwind. And obviously that discussion begins with Scotty Scheffler. As you mentioned, 4 wins in his past 8 events. Pretty good. Who else has been swinging a good stick entering the FedEx St. Jude Championship? What?
I just never heard that term before.
Swinging a good stick?
Yeah, I mean,
I never know how to intro the current form section. I'm not gonna lie. You know, transitions are not my forte. And it's even worse when it's like, do I say pass through? You just get a little gridlock.
I know. We do the same thing every week, so you gotta want to mix it up. But I just didn't hear it. It caught me off guard. So,
swinging a good stick, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, but like some of these guys might just be putting well, which I don't know if that would.
It's still kind of a swingish,
I guess.
We'll workshop it. Interns, get us new ways to actually AI. Give me a new way to transition from past history to current form. There we go. See, I can use AI and not just get mad at it. Congratulations to me. I am progressive.
You seem so defeated. Okay. So there are 3 names I'll say specifically above a 2.0 true strokes gained per round over the last 3 months, according to Data Golf, which adjusts for field strength. Scotty Scheffler's number 1. He's at a 3.82.
It's an insane number.
Next up is Matt Fitzpatrick at a 2.11. I did this math and then forgot it for the last 50, but 3.82.
I'm going to do it for the past 6 months, if that's okay. Because Scotty's at 0.322 there. And then second is Fleetwood at 1.91. So Scotty's 1.31 strokes clear of the field across a round in the past 6 months. If you put that over 4 rounds, everyone plays their baseline, he'd be projected to win by 5.2 strokes. We've done this a lot, and then he's gone out and won by that number. So can we I'll look for some props. Scotty to win by exactly 5.24 strokes. Let's see if I can find that somewhere on here.
Yeah. If you do that for the last 3 months, the gap is 6.84 shots over 4 rounds. So
it's insane.
I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. But I don't want to knock Fitzpatrick or Tommy Fleetwood, who's at a 2.05. That's the top 3. It's just such a massive gap between Scotty and the rest, whether it is the 3 months, the super recent form, or slightly larger, as Jim pointed out. So that's what we're dealing with. And it's kind of the reality. It's not like, hey, Scotty Scheffler plus 280, you can't get there because it's too short of a number. He is that much better than everyone else in the field. But if we look at golfers whose FanDuel DFS salaries are at 10,000 or lower, here's the best form. Ben Griffin. I clarified that there was only 3 guys above a 2. Griffin comes in at a 2.00. Salary's 9,700. He's 40-1 to win. I feel like everybody's like 30 to 40 to win. It's like kind of it's Scotty, it's Xander, and it just sort of feels like everyone's in that 30 to 40, like 30 to 50 range. There's just a ton of names. He was T11 at the Wyndham after 2 straight missed cuts, so a nice bounce back for him. But prior to the missed cuts, 6 straight top 15s, including a win at the Charles Schwab Challenge for Ben Griffin. Harris English is at a 1.96, salary's 9,400. T4 at the Travelers, T22 at the Scottish, second at the Open. He won back here in 2013 as well, for those of you who like to look 12 years into the past. I'll use it for Harris English because I like him this week, but if I didn't like the current form, I wouldn't care. So it's one of those situations. I'm being transparent. Chris Gotterup is next, 1.94. $8,600 is the salary. Really interesting there. 45-1 to win, same as Harris English. Won the Scottish Open, third at the Open, T10 at the 3M Open. You know, the three biggest Opens that we get all year, back to back to back. Shout out Tom Amansky there with the good finishes for Chris Gotterup. Hot putter, but great driver, good overall game, to be honest. And like 8,600, when we get into the DFS section, there's a lot of names in pretty solid form at lower salaries, including the U.S. Open winner, JJ Spaun, whose salary is only 8,800. He feels like a lot of disrespect for JJ Spaun. I feel like he went out and won the U.S. Open and like has just been just a guy otherwise, like in terms of his salaries. But 8,800 is the salary, 50-1 to win. He's at a 1.75, so a little bit of a drop off there. But T14 at the Travelers, cut at the Scottish, and T23 at the Open since winning the U.S. Open. He's made 2 cuts here in his career with strong strokes gained data in all of them. Basically, I think he's 7 of 8 positive, but don't quote me on that. Keegan Bradley just behind at a 1.74. Salary's up at 9,600. He's also 45-1 to win since his win at the Travelers. T41 at the Rocket Classic, T30 at the Open, missed the cut at the Wyndham with really bad irons. And if you look event by event, Keegan's been hot and then cold with his irons, which is good in a sense because there's some volatility in the positive sense, but from a DFS standpoint, less good. And even from a betting standpoint, if you see that volatility, it's not necessarily always what you want. So just kind of shouting that out with Keegan. Harry Hall, 9,200 is the salary. He's at a 1.73, 65-1 to win on FanDuel Sportsbook. Hot putting as always for Harry Hall. He is on a string of 9 straight top 30 finishes. Just kind of do need better ball striking to make the most of the putting being what it is. So not enamored with Harry Hall, but definitely not out on him entirely. Sepp Straka, salary's 9,900. He's at a 1.69, 40-1 to win. As I mentioned, a lot of names in that sort of just big tier. This week on FanDuel Sportsbook, just up and down finishes for Straka. He's been our guy, or at least my guy. I don't know if you want to claim him as well, but I feel like you've been there too. But
that's way more complimentary than you usually give me for labeling people as my guys. So I'll happily take Sepp Straka.
Well, yeah, I don't want to give you credit if you didn't want it. So
no, it's not credit. It's I'm happy to be associated with Sepp Straka. Yes.
Well, some weeks you are, but other weeks you're not, because he's gone win, cut, third, cut, 45th, 7th, 52nd since May.
When have I been on him? It's mostly been those cuts. So maybe I should be lower. I don't know.
Yeah. Second, 63rd, and 61st in 3 career starts for him at TPC Southwind. So I don't mind it. 99's a lot for some up and down profile though. Corey Connors, 98, a little less up and down. 1.58 true strokes gained per round, 40-1. Again, just like everyone's there. Just $100 lower than Sepp Straka though, but positive in 3 of 4 over the last 3 months. The strokes gained stats, of course, negative, but not as bad. I think he's at 0.11 on the negative and strokes gained around the green over the last 3 months. T10 at the Open in his last start. He's made all 3 cuts at the majors where he didn't withdraw. He withdrew at the U.S. Open, but T8 at the Masters, T19 at the PGA, and T10 at the Open, like the inverse Straka this year in majors. So that's a standout. And just because, like, I want to display what we're kind of dealing with in terms of the 8K range. Like, we got some names who are in decent form. I'm just going to rattle these off, not really get into details, but the other names above a 1.35 true strokes gained per round. Nick Taylor at 82. He's at a 1.49. Jordan Spieth, salary's 8,900. He's at a 1.47. Robert McIntyre, 9,100 at a 1.45. And Kurt Kitayama, 8,400 is the salary, 1.37. So just to kind of get out ahead of it, you can play Scotty Scheffler and still roster some good golfers. So that's going to kind of be a simple one for the week. You can get cute in tournaments if you want to, but honestly, to see Scotty like finishing worse than like T15 based on how much better he is in this field, it just doesn't really feel likely. And if you look at his average strokes gained and his standard deviation over the last 50 rounds, his floor, like a realistic kind of floor for him, is a +1.
Pretty good.
And nobody else is above a -0.4. So like his sort of weak realistic outcomes are gaining strokes on the field.
That is a pretty good outcome for him to have. Now, I did want to talk quickly about Somebody talked about right at the beginning there in Ben Griffin. Salary is $9,700. It's a pretty good range for DFS this week up there. And you mentioned he's in that cluster of guys who are 40, 30 to 1, somewhere in there. I have been worried about him. And it might be because of what we saw with Michael Kim earlier this year, where Michael Kim went on this blitz where he played like every event trying to qualify for the Masters, did it. It was awesome. And it was really fun to watch him do that, but he kind of tailed off, I think, due to fatigue. Ben Griffin, yes, has sat out 2 of the past 4 weeks. Didn't play the Scottish Open, didn't play the week after, didn't play the 3M. So he had some off days, but like when he came back last week, that 11th place finish was almost entirely due to the putter versus the ball striking. So I feel like I would like to probably be low on Ben Griffin and kind of ignore him despite the fact like the numbers I look at say I should have interest there. Are you also a bit wary of Ben Griffin due to fatigue, any other reason, or am I being a bit, I don't know, am I being too worrisome here?
I mean, I'm not that worried about the fatigue factor. Are we talking betting or DFS here, basically?
Honestly, both. Like betting, you have a lot of other options, so I could see not betting him. Yeah. DFS, like, yeah, Corey Connors at 9.8. I like Harris English at 94. Keegan Bradley's 96. So I think it's a good range there too, but I guess more so talking DFS.
Yeah. So from a DFS standpoint, it's a little more enticing, I think, because you have 23 names who are between 30 and 55 to 1 this week. Like, they all have a case for, they all have a case against. So it's really hard to narrow that one down.
I can't think of a case for Patrick Cantlay. I guess the irons are good.
The tee to green game he's what, 13th in tee to green the last 3 months.
I can't get to Big Shot Bob McIntyre. I've listed 2 out of 23. Did I win?
You can't get the McIntyre. He's like just solid across the board. He doesn't.
It's
have
on
to
U.S. soil.
This week.
It's on U.S. soil. I'm sorry. JJ Spawn has already been too profitable for me this year, so can't possibly win again. That's another reason. And then Mav has cooled off. So there we go. And JT Poston. Haven't thought about him in a minute. So there. You got 4 or 5.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thanks. So you've got 19 more to go.
Yeah, it's fine. Just bet all of them. It's fine. This is great. This is not an advice-based podcast. Do not listen to what I just said.
So from a DFS standpoint, I know we're going to do the scroll in a bit, but with Griffin at 97, we got Straka at 99. There's not really a case against Straka in the sense of, like, can he go out and win? Yes. Are there safer plays? Probably. Corey Connors is probably the biggest issue with the sort of more consistent game. But I do have Ben Griffin highlighted, so I like him more from a DFS standpoint than from a betting standpoint due to just sheer upside. Then you got Keegan and Hideki and Harris English. Like, I would say it's probably my big 3 there are Connors, Griffin, and English. And it's coming from someone who's like really liked Hideki a lot and really liked Keegan a lot. It's just like there's not a lot of separation.
Yeah.
Which is the hard part.
Yep, I agree with that too. And we'll talk about some of those names later on. First, though, weather for this weekend honestly looks pretty great. I have no big concerns about wind. There's not a lot of precipitation in the forecast, so should be pretty good to go there. With that said, let's dive in now to the betting odds over at FanDuel Sportsbook and try to identify our favorite bets for the FedEx St. Jude Championship at FanDuel Sportsbook. But Brandon, beginning with the outrights, who stands out to you as a potential winner for this week in the FedEx St. Jude Championship?
I like Victor Hovland. 31 to 1. It's an awkward number to cite, 31, but it feels good. He's the second best iron player. You mentioned sorting by irons this week. Over everyone's last 50 rounds, Hovland is second in approach, behind, of course, just Scotty Scheffler. Scheffler's at a 1.6. Hovland's at a 1.16, but he's got a pretty sizable gap over Shane Lowry at a 1.04. And this is kind of reminiscent for Hovland at the course that he won earlier this year in Copperhead. De-emphasis on around the greens, smaller greens, etc. And Data Golf actually has a pretty strong course comparison score between TPC Southwind and Copperhead, which is interesting to see. And Hovland, during his win, was 71st among 79 cut makers in strokes gained around the green, but 6th in approach, 2nd in putting. And he's also got good form at TPC Southwind, 20th, 13th, and 2nd in his last 3 starts. He's putted well in all 3. Hovland, frankly, is the type of name that, and I don't just say this because he did exactly this and came out of nowhere to win, but it feels almost like Hovland currently isn't always going to have it, but when he does, he can go toe-to-toe with anybody in the field, including Scotty, to be honest. Now, he can kind of shy away from the moment. That's not lost on me, but he's also due for putting regression. I know that we don't really think of Victor Hovland as because his wedge play is so bad by comparison to a lot of the other superstars that we think he's just kind of a bad putter. He's about average this year on tour, 46th percentile from within 15 feet, 17th percentile beyond that. So he should have more putts go in eventually. And whenever you're looking at a course where accuracy is helpful and precise irons into these small greens is helpful, that leads me to Victor Hovland. And I like enough from Hovland to want to get there again this year. So any thoughts for you on Hovland?
Well, you mentioned that we are okay downplaying around the green play this week. And I if you think of I hear that and you think of a certain golfer, every time I hear that, I'm going to think of Hovland before anybody else. So we were on him for the Open, thought he was pretty intriguing there. It didn't go well, obviously, but, just didn't really have it that week. We were on him for a reason at a big boy tournament. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm not there myself personally, but I fully understand why Hovland is near the top of your list, given, like you said, he's someone who, if he quote unquote surprises, it won't be a surprise. I know it's a weird way to phrase that, but that's kind of how I view him.
Well, maybe I can sell you on Mr. TPC Southwind himself, Daniel Berger, at 50 to 1. You can always
sell me on Daniel Berger. That is not a tough sell. You're taking the easy road here.
So Daniel Berger, he looked like he was just back, and it was a matter of time before he converted. You're scrolling too much. Did he move?
Uh-oh.
You're confusing me now.
Okay. I thought he was 40 for some reason.
No.
He's 50.
50. Come on, dog.
Why did I think 40?
Because probably should be. No.
Fair enough. I agree.
So he came back and was putting together one of the best statistical profiles of any golfer on the PGA Tour. And it didn't really lead to anything. And now it seems like he's cooled off. And that's true. He had a string of 11 top 33 finishes in 12 starts from mid-January to mid-May. Since then, no finishes better than T30 in 6 tries, despite some great iron play. And if you go back to that strokes gained stabilization rate, your last 36 in ball striking, your last 50 in short game, he is in a tier of his own in terms of his ball striking, compared only to Scotty Scheffler, basically. So ball striking last 36, Scheffler, he doesn't really compare, but it's Scotty and his Berger, and then it's everybody else. 2.67 for Scotty. 1.73 for Berger, and then the man you hate and would never bet, Patrick Cantlay, at a 1.37.
Fair.
Now, in this span, Berger's short game is bad. It's a negative, which is not what you want to see. But there are reasons to think that Daniel Berger, who's a good kind of long-term short game player or good enough, can bounce back at some point. The putting, it's not good, but it shouldn't be this bad. 12th percentile on longer putts, 35th percentile on shorter putts. So hoping for something there. And then you factor in being just like the guy at this course, 2 wins, 2 more top 5s in 5 career starts. I think there's enough for Daniel Berger to go out and really contend this week at 50 to 1. I think that's just a really long number. And in this tier that we're talking about of nobody really stands out, I do think Daniel Berger stands out.
Yeah, I think he's really fun. I mentioned before that if I were to add outright, Xander Schauffele is the most likely guy for me to bet. Berger's number 2 on that list as guys I could see adding him at that card. I'd probably prefer him for a top 10 versus an outright just because of Scotty mostly, but I do think that he's really intriguing. 50-1 is not a bad number. You are accounting for Scotty at that number for sure. So I think Berger 50 is a good call by you, and I do like that quite a bit. So you got Daniel Berger 50-1 and Victor Hovland 31-1 as your 2 outrights for this week. I think Russell Henley's going to win this week. Like, I don't mind saying it that way, being a bit more firm, because I just feel really good about him at this number of 30-1. I'm, as mentioned, okay, downplaying driver a little bit this week. And he is a guy who is good off the tee, but is kind of like an elite golfer everywhere else. We've seen Henley finish top 10 in 4 consecutive events. 2 of those were majors. The other 2 were signature events. So a big boy field does not daunt Russell Henley. He was 6th at TPC Southwind in 2023, 7th in 2016. So not the same history as a guy like Berger, but good history here, especially recently. And I want to sort by iron play for this week. Russell Henley is a guy who grades out well there, but then it can also do quite a bit in other categories too. Yes, he does gain around the green. We don't care as much about that this week, but overall, I think this is a good Russell Henley course, and Russell Henley is a bit underrated at 30-1. So I think Russell Henley's going to win this week. He's already won one really big purse this year. I wouldn't be shocked if he has another one for himself this week. So Russell Henley, to me, 30-1, my favorite outright on the board for this week. It's to the point where I was kind of sweating if I had won the bobblehead against you last week, because I want to make sure I pick first. I know you're not having Henley on your outright card, but I want to pick first in our win picks contest and make sure I get Henley. So that's how good I feel about Henley this week at 30-1. How do you feel about him at this number?
Like him a lot. Like him as an outright. Also, don't mind him as a top 5.
Plus
550.
550 is a good number. I think that's smart as a way to give yourself Scotty insurance. Mentioned before, I had non-outrights and all the guys I had bet. I did take the top 5 for Henley specifically as well.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of what you were saying about Henley, just kind of, he's been knocking on the door, since winning the Arnold Palmer Invitational. 2 missed cuts, but those were at the Masters and the PGA. Overall, 5 top 10 finishes in those 9 events, and he's gained in 14 of 16 strokes gain categories in his last 4 starts, which is usually a really good sign for continued successes if you're positive everywhere. 2 top 10 finishes and 7 starts at this course in his career, and top 17 in approach around the green and putting over the last 50 rounds. So that fairway through fairway through green kind of number there, and 12th in accuracy. So should have what it takes to play some good golf this week. So I like him top 5 plus 550, but definitely don't dislike him as an outright. Just went with Hovland and Berger instead.
All right, so I got Russell Henley at 30-1. The other outright that I like this week is going to be Corey Connors at 40-1. Talked about downplaying around the green play, Hovland being the first guy you'd think of. Connors is probably top 3 on that list too. We can downplay the wedges. He'll be a guy who benefits. And also we had this concern about Connors where he withdrew at the US Open, and it's like, okay, not fully healthy. He looked good at the Open though. Finished 10th there, and he did so specifically by ball striking like crazy, which is awesome to see heading into this week. Didn't putt very well, but the putter had been good before that. So I'm not super concerned about one bad week at the putter. We know he's not like amazing as a putter, but like he's also not as bad as like old school Corey Connors. He's actually plus 0.33 with the putter across the past 6 months, according to Data Golf per round. That's pretty good. He also finished 6th here in 2023. I think the list of guys who finished 6th here in 2023 is like an insane list, because everyone I looked at like finished 6th that year. It was Jordan Spieth, Corey Connors, Russell Henley, Max Homa was there, Sung J M, Cam Davis, Adam Schenk. So just a good list of guys finished exactly tied for 6th in that 2023 event. But Connors there too. He is 5th in relevant strokes game, which is the past 24 off the tee, 36 approach, 50 short game. He is behind just Scotty Scheffler, Matt Fitzpatrick, who's played pretty well, Russell Henley, and then Chris Gotterup, who I'll talk about later on as well. So good form for Connors. He's done well here in the past. I think 40-1 is a good number for him. What do you feel about Corey Connors this week?
Yeah, I liked Connors. Honestly, could have had Henley and Connors in the outright section as well. It's kind of a big four for me in terms of my outright preferences, and it's basically these four names that we covered. But he's a high floor player. His floor over the last 50 rounds, based on his mathematical dispersion, is second behind only Scotty, but it is a negative 0.4 because most people's floors are not positive. So I think that where I went, where I kind of diverged from you here is just believing more in Daniel Berger going out and having that door slamming performance than Corey Connors. Right or wrong, maybe it's warranted, maybe it's not. But for me, Connors, I would probably lean a little bit more for that top 10, top 5. You mentioned you got to be perceptive or receptive to having, some non-outright exposure on a lot of these names, just because Scotty could go out and, just wreck everyone and leave. So I like Connors a lot, but I think I'm preferring him in the finishing position market myself.
Yeah, he's 3-1 for a top 10. I did take that too. So I agree with that as being good market for Corey Connors. The Henley one I took was a top 5, plus 550. So those are the additions I have for the outrights. But Connors 40-1, Henley at 30, the two outrights I like this week, in addition to you on Hovland and Daniel Berger. You already mentioned Russell Henley as being a non-outright you like. Anybody else stand out to you as being a non-win bet for the FedEx St. Jude Championship?
Yeah, gonna get my sights a little bit high on this one with a top 10 at plus 600 for Justin Rose.
Okay.
So Rose has the 16th highest strokes gained ceiling over everybody's last 50 rounds among this field. So some pretty consistent upside from that perspective. 3 top 25 finishes at TPC Southwind and 5 career starts as well. 6th at the Scottish, T16 at the Open. So you like that. And when you look at that strokes gained per shot from 100 to 200 yards, which I said was a key stat. Haven't really cited it, but it's factored into my model here. 21st over the last 12 months. So I like to see that. So, again, it's a pretty big ceiling. Like a top 10 is not nothing, even in a smaller field. But 6-1 on Rose to get inside the top 10 in a smaller field. Golfing as well as he is, he's really like a kind of volatile golfer in the positive sense. So I like Rose this week at 6-1 to finish top 10.
Can you restate that ceiling fact that you had, about his upside? Because that kind of blew my mind.
That he's 16th in ceiling over everyone's last 50 rounds. Yeah. So again, that's like your median plus a standard deviation.
That's pretty crazy.
You just wouldn't think about it, but
no.
A lot of that's fueled by he's almost won some big time tournaments.
Yeah,
and
he has.
You kind of forget about that. And so it's a good reminder of who actually has shown upside, because you can kind of guess and use the data to project forward, but it's nice to see sometimes who's actually done it a little bit more. How big is this range for these guys? What's their actual ceiling? And so Rose being there is definitely a standout for me.
The who's actually done it approach works for Rose at 6-1 for a top 10 and Henley for a top 5 at plus 550. But it also does work for my first non-outright. That is Harris English for a top 10 at plus 330, because Harris English is doing it against the toughest fields and kind of isn't getting enough flowers for it. Plus 330 for a top 10. He finished second at the Open, 4th at the Travelers, 2nd at the PGA Championship. He was 12th at the Memorial as well. He's doing that in ways that we like, with elite irons and a very good putter. He gets boosted at a place where I think that driver could matter a bit less. We saw him do that. 4th here in 2021, 10th in 2017. You mentioned before that he had the win back in 2013 as well. But again, the recent history is not bad either. And the form for English is just really, really good. So Harris English, top 10, plus 330. I like betting Harris English, and I like it this week as well. What are your thoughts on Harris English at that number?
Yeah, never disliked Harris English, basically. He was a name that it was really just sort of a victim of circumstance where you can only get to so many names in a week. Really, really interested in him. Didn't quite get there yet, but there are ways to get back in. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned who's kind of done it in these bigger fields. The recent strokes gained at stabilization numbers really good for Harris English. So never, there might be weeks where I don't like Harris English, but this isn't one of them. So it's just a matter of can't get to them all, but I took a long look at HE this week.
You can get him in DFS potentially at 94. I think that could be another route too, to at least get some exposure to Harris English. Other guy I like for a non-outright is someone I alluded to earlier on. That's Chris Goddard. Talked about him in the relevant strokes gain category as being a guy who's looked really good here. And the reason he looks good there specifically is because the irons have been a lot better for Goddard recently. That's been happening since May. So a 30-round sample of Goddard having good irons. You did like a revised version of a study you did previously, pretty recently, looking at where strokes gain numbers stabilize. And it was around 36 rounds where approach play stabilized, reaching 66% of stabilization. And another 36 rounds, he's at 30. It's not quite there. It means we can't quite buy into the iron play being sticky and good, but it's definitely better than what it was. And when you add in a pretty sick driver and a guy who's had a good short game of late, that's pretty intriguing. Now, again, it's not enough to say that he is like a fully new guy, but there is enough here to say that he could be. And I'm not paying like a full tax on Chris Goddard at plus 360 for a top 10. So I think that number is pretty intriguing. Where do you stand in Chris Goddard as things stand?
Love Goddard. Really like him for DFS. Was trying to figure out how to get to him and on the betting card, but really interested in him. I just filter by golfers whose win odds are 45 to 1 or longer, and then kind of sort by that ceiling rating. He's number 1.
Okay.
So lots to like about Goddard. The stabilization numbers are really good, like you mentioned, and the short game actually, he's like the putting splits are nice. 74th percentile from within 15 feet, 34th beyond that. So you can't really nitpick Goddard, but I want exposure to him this week.
I'll happily take that. So I got Chris Goddard up top 10 at plus 360 along with the Harris English top 10 at plus 330. Let's talk some DFS now. We already alluded to the fact that Scotty Scheffler is someone you can definitely get to this week, even though his FanDuel salary is 13.4. That's not that bad at all, honestly. Like, frankly, probably could have been 14K and I still would have said yes. So I feel like I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Put Scotty in the lineup. 93.20 left for 5 slots. I think that's a fair trade-off. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's really reasonable. I rattled off some extra names over the last 3 months. Those leaders really to kind of hammer home that you can play some guys in good form at salaries in the like 8K range to get to Scotty. And I think that that's the way to do it. Do you see a case in tournaments not to play Scotty?
It'd have to be like,
how many lineups do you need, basically?
5. Like,
so you'd play him in your first 5?
I'd probably have him in my first 4 and lop him off in 1. Just because, like, I know I have like the ignore the floor tile on StreamYard that I can pull up when necessary. Because, like, in general, we want to get players with good ceilings, both for betting, but also for DFS, because you're not going to take down a tournament by getting a guy who finishes a bunch of guys who finish in the top 10. You need a winner in there. But like his floor is also just like, it's high enough where I kind of have to like be like, nope, the floor actually does matter with him. Like I had to scroll on his player card to find a finish worse than outside the top 10. Yeah. I had to go all the way back to March, the players, which is where he's in my season long league. Cool. Thanks, Scotty. So I feel like for him, the floor actually does matter. And
you used him at the players?
Yeah, because it's the highest like payout first.
We got to talk about that.
Why? Highest payout to first place.
It's the most volatile tournament that there is.
I don't care. Highest payout to first place. I'm not going to ignore the players. Also, use 3 guys. So it's like, I got to use 3. Might as well put Scotty in there.
All right.
I did use him 3 times. I'm pretty sure I used him at the Travelers too. Finished 6th. And then one of them where he won, but it didn't matter. I think it was a PGA Championship. So that one didn't matter at all. But oh well. But yes.
Who are you going to if not Scotty? Are you trying to get to Xander? Are you trying to go like mega balance?
Honestly, I hadn't thought a lot about it just because I've been so committed to like Scotty.
Yeah.
I do think I would go towards like balance-ish with like Xander. Like I love Russell Henley this week at 10-8. So I'd probably have Xander and Henley, I guess, in there. I don't know. What about you?
Xander and Henley still get you more per golfer for only 4 than just Scotty, which is saying a lot. But
Yeah.
I think for me, just pure win equity discussion, I feel like I'd have to go with Xander there.
Yeah.
Because it just opens up the door for someone else to win. But I could also see trying to go with like Xander and Fitz. Because I think that a lot of these names are going to be just overlooked by default with Scotty soaking up so much of the roster rate that you could really separate by you still need to hit the winner if you don't play Scotty and he finishes like 8th, right? Like you need the winner, and Xander and Fitz, I think, have it. So I'm sure this is the perfect week for Aaron Rice finally to show some like pure ceiling, or Ludwig just to, march back and be like, no, I'm still here, guys. Like, but I would go Xander and Fitz.
Okay.
As much as I like Henley, if I'm not playing Scotty, I think I would try to get to that second tier in terms of the win odds personally and start with Xander and Fitz.
Are we overlooking JT at 11-4? He's a past winner here, as alluded to. I talked about how I'm downplaying driver a bit, and like look at the past 6 months, he's at 1.7 strokes gained per round with approach through putter. That's pretty good. I know he's cooled off recently, but part of that's because he's just not a good links player, so I wasn't expecting necessarily to like be great when they played overseas. So are we overlooking Justin Thomas?
It's very possible, but can you make a better case for JT than Xander?
No. But if we're doing Xander plus Fitz, why not Xander plus JT?
Well, Fitz is, I think that might be like cutting legs out from Fitz, though.
Sure.
Because he's putting together, and then it's that rate, like, well, are we forgetting about Tommy? And it's like,
I'm happy to forget about Tommy. That's okay.
Okay, sure.
Happy to forget about Aaron Rye as well.
I'll say this much, and this is a little bit of a cop out because they're tiered together in terms of salary, but Xander, JT, and Fitz are a tier above Fleetwood, Rye, and Ludwig. Which is what I really mean by that is I'm fine to gloss over Fleetwood, Rye, and Ludwig more than I am to ignore like the JT of it all. So
I'm on board with that. And you'd rank them Xander, Fitz, JT in that order?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I would rank JT above Fitz, but I understand your rationale too. And I think it's very close. Henley at 10-8. I think he's the ideal pairing with Scheffler. Go Scheffler at 13-4 with Henley at 10-8. You've got 89.50 left per golfer for 4 slots. Based on the 8,000 range, I have no issues with that at all. I think the 8,000 range rules this week. And I don't need to get up in the 10K range a ton outside of Henley. So I like this combo a lot, and I'm going to use this one pretty heavily. Is it kind of the same thing for you, given what you said about Henley earlier?
Yeah, that's probably where I'm going to go. I like Henley more for DFS. I like Hovland more for betting.
Okay.
But like you also got Morikawa and Cantlay, who have easy cases to be made always. I just want to point that out. I know you're like low on, I guess, both of them, but specifically Cantlay, which I kind of get, but they don't do enough. But they do enough not to just gloss over them.
Yeah.
But they don't do enough for me to want to play them. I mean, I think they're Morikawa's, I pretty much feels like a lock for a captain's pick on the Ryder Cup either way.
Yeah.
Cantlay's 14th. He probably has some pressure. But I don't want to use that as like a reason to sort of dictate anything. And frankly, as far as like the FedEx Cup standings go, I try not to like overweight it too much. Everybody wants to go play good golf this week. Like, so the narrative of like people getting more locked in, I feel like is not really how I want to play things either.
Yeah, I hear that for sure. Okay. Let's scroll down a little bit. And sorry, the dog is barking at something and now she's scratching. I think she's okay. Let's scroll down a little bit here. Hovland at 10-5. Said I'm liking more for betting than for DFS. Still going to get him in DFS or no?
Oh, yeah. No, I like Henley
Okay.
more than Hovland in DFS. I like Hovland more than Henley for betting.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Any interest for you in the lower 10K range, or can we skip it?
Lower 10K range, I'm good.
Okay. I agree. I think the upper 9 range is pretty solid.
Yeah.
Don't mind. I'm not in love with Sepp at 99, but also like don't hate it. You got Corey Connors at 98, who I do like quite a bit. Ben Griffin, as mentioned, you're a little bit higher on him than I am. I understand it. Just not quite as high there. Keegan 96. I guess it's more so I like Connors. I guess is why I feel good about this range. Everyone else I'm like kind of like, okay, whatever. How do you feel about the upper 9 range?
I have Connors ranked first here, and then Griffin, and then probably Sepp. I don't want to be out completely on Hideki because I've been there and I think that there's a lot to like. But the reality for Hideki is that it's an imperfect game and I'm selling myself on certain things in terms of like what I think the upside is. But just won here last year. The approach numbers are still good. I don't want to ignore that. So I'd go Hideki over Keegan this week, but I think I'm going Harris English over both of them.
Yeah. And I'm okay with being in this range in general, so it means I could wind up on both. But I do agree with you that Hideki's win equity for his salary is pretty good. If you just sort by like betting odds and compare it to DFS salaries, like Hideki's like one of the standouts in this field. Iron Stormer is still really good. He's gained at least a stroke per round in 3 of his past 5 events. The driver's been the issue, but okay, I'm okay being a little bit more receptive to that this week than usual. But I also agree with you where Harris English at 94 is a better play than him too. 94 for him, given how much of a big game hunter he has been, how much he's proven against good fields. He's doing it in ways we like with the irons and with the putter. I think that makes him one of the better plays in the field this week. Like Harris English will be a love for me for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Harry Hall's playing good golf, but it's a lot of the putter.
Yep.
You hate Robert McIntyre, which is disgusting, but
it's only on U.S. soil. Come on.
Okay.
We know the rules here.
Not playing Wyndham, but I will say Jordan Spieth stands out to me at 89.
I totally agree. Spieth is a really fun play, 89. What put you on him?
I asked you first. I got it in.
Okay.
You can check the tape, but I got it in first.
So obviously there's still like that injury concern, but he keeps playing like decent golf. Irons last week at the Wyndham were neutral, which is a concern, but they weren't bad. And he putted really well. He's generally played well at this course, even when Spieth has had like quote unquote down years. I thought it last year when he's clearly like playing hurt. Even when he's had down years, he's still played pretty well at TPC Southwind. So I like him a lot, 89. I still believe in the irons, despite the fact they've been okay in his 2 events back. I think that they'll return to form pretty soon here. So that's what puts me on Spieth. What about for you?
I have him 8th in stabilization strokes gained. So where we can kind of buy into those numbers. And it feels like there are just reasons to be bullish on Spieth, despite some putting splits that I wouldn't quite want, just to be transparent. So he's not a love for me. He's actually kind of more of a narrative play than anything. He's more of a narrative play than a process play.
Okay.
I'd rather play JJ Spawn straight up at 88 due to the long-term form. But Spieth, there's something there, and the salary's low enough for me to like it. Do you like Spawn this week?
I hadn't looked a lot into him because I was so drawn towards Spieth. I like Berger at 86, like Goddard at 86. I kind of got distracted by those names, but like I don't really have a good reason not to like JJ Spawns. I probably should, I guess.
It just feels like, JJ Spawn fatigue, which is like kind of whoever would have thought that would happen. But like, to be honest, he's almost won the Players, won the US Open. He missed the cut at the Scottish Open, but bounced back. 23rd at the Open. Like, this is one of the best golfers of the year. And
ball striking's really good. He's a good putter.
He's being tossed in, like, I don't want to say, I hate saying this, but like he's being tossed in with like Jordan Spieth and like Matt McNeely and JT Poston. He's just a better golfer than that. So I love JJ Spawn this week.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I talked about the reason that I was not as like drawn to him is because I like Berger at 86. I like Goddard at 86. Both guys talked about in the betting section. I think they're both awesome for DFS too. Another guy I wanted to highlight is Denny McCarthy at 83. Just missed out on the McCarthy top 10 last week, which kind of bummed me out because he finished 11th. But it's a spot again where I don't care as much about driver. Approach play for McCarthy again, really good last week. We know how good he is as a putter. So $8,300 can move the needle quite a bit. I think that the tier above him is like a lot higher upside, that being the tier of Berger, Gotterup, and then talking about Spawn and Spieth too. But if I really want to save a lot of salary and allow myself to get back up to guys like Connors, I think that McCarthy could be a tool for that. I prefer to stay above him personally, but he's at least consideration. Who else do you like in the 8,000 range?
So Berger and Gotterup for me for sure. Denny didn't quite get there. I think his ball striking is cooling off a bit. I'd rather go with Justin Rose at 8,000 for the reasons I talked about. Just kind of a ceiling player. I think he's a really interesting name. And if memory serves, he's got some work to do for the European Ryder Cup.
It's because it's a crazy competitive team.
He's 8th.
Yeah.
I mean, Hovland's 10th, but Fitz is 12th. That's crazy.
Good team.
Yeah. But Justin Rose at 8, and even Ryan Fox at 77 if I really need to, if I want to try to get cute and do like a Scotty Xander start.
Yeah.
Ryan Fox could come into play. Probably not going to get there a ton, but it is what it is. I'd rather go Rose for sure. But in terms of the below 85, those are the two names that I keep looking at the most.
Yeah, Ryan Fox's salary is $7,700, which could, again, do a lot of damage for you there. Okay, who are your DFS loves this week?
Scotty at 13.4, Russell Henley at 10.8.
Yep.
Soft love on Victor Hovland at 10.5.
Okay.
Corey Connors 98, Harris English 94, JJ Spawn 88, and then Daniel Berger at 86 with Chris Goddard up very, very close. I'd probably put him in there too. But
yeah, we have almost the exact same list. It's the same above 9,000 with it being Scotty, Connors, Harris English, Russell Henley. And then below 9,000, I'll put the loves as being Berger and Goddard up. Really strong like for Spieth and Spawn. And then McCarthy is like another to consider, I guess is the way that I view it there.
So we're going to have a pretty close head-to-head lineup then.
I'm worried about that. But actually, no, I would get to pick first again because it doesn't matter if I win anymore since you already beat me.
Yeah.
So I can dupe you again, I guess. I don't really want to actively try to dupe you, but like it's not as detrimental for you now as if it would have been previously. Okay. The reason the bobblehead still matters, despite the fact that you've already defeated me there, is that whoever wins the bobblehead each week gets to pick if they want to go first and fourth within our win picks contest or second and third. And I'm still leading in this right now and would like to win this. We can wash for the year. So I need to win. I'm going to go first and fourth. I'm going to take Russell Henley as my first pick at 30-1 this week.
Was there any hesitation for you?
Nope. Okay. Without it, I already told you Russell Henley's winning this week.
All right. I mean, I'm just
said it with my chest. Did I stutter?
Okay. I'm just asking, man. Like, let it. Come on.
All right. Second and third. Who do you want?
I'm definitely going Victor Hovland at 31.
I love that. I think it's a good pick.
My thought process here is either Daniel Berger at 50.
Okay.
But I really need someone just above 23.
Yep.
And I've got Tommy Fleetwood and Justin Thomas at 25, which is interesting. I've got Ludwig at 30, which I haven't really thought about. So it's either like just take the pure bare minimum with two guys that I don't mind, or going big picture. I'm going to go Justin Thomas though at 25.
Dang, that is a little scary to me. I asked if we were overlooking him before, and now he might come back to bite me. So you've got JT 25 and Victor Hovland 31. I like both those picks. I've got Russell Henley at 30. And for the purposes of this, where I kind of just want to like lengthen my lead if I can, I'm going to go Xander at 18-1. Try to make it a little bit harder for you in the final 2 weeks to see if I can extend that a bit. So I got Xander 18 and Russell Henley 30 as my 2 win picks for this week. Any final thoughts for you before we close up shop for the FedEx St. Jude Championship?
I thought you were going to go Scotty, honestly, but...
Oh, no. Maybe I should have, but that doesn't do a ton for me.
Any other thoughts? I don't know. I feel like this is always the sign off for the show, but it's golf. And this week in particular, there are a lot of names that we did lampshade, like Ludwig and Aaron Ryan stuff. They just don't stand out to me as much.
Yeah.
I do think you're kind of doing yourself a disservice if you try to completely fade Scotty. I just don't know if it's the right approach this week. But with so many value plays in the mix, you can still play Scotty in DFS and get unique. And then as far as betting goes, I mean, Scotty's a plus 280 favorite for a reason, which is a little scary. So, and as someone who I really just prefer playing outrights more than anything, Scotty has made me, it's kind of single-handedly made me change my process. So I want to make sure I'm looking at different markets and seeing what I can find there. So I think I think Scotty's just like a problem.
He is inevitable, as always. Yeah. That is all that we have here for today. But as mentioned, back with you the next 2 weeks as well for the BMW Championship and the Tour Championship. Same time, same place. The FanDuel Golf Betting YouTube page and over on the FanDuel Research Podcast feed. Go subscribe to both those. Leave us a thumbs up on YouTube and a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Brandon, people have questions for you on social media. Where can they find you there?
I'm on X at Gdula13, GDULA13, and on Blue Sky at Gdula.
And I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes. You can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work in the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your bets and your DFS picks for the FedEx St. Jude Championship. We'll talk to you once again next week for the BMW. This has been The Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast.